Today is part 2 of my 326 Hudson. At the end of the last video, I had everything taken apart and cleaned, and I had the motor and smoke unit tested and working. As you can see now, the engine is nearly completely assembled. There are 3 missing pieces, and I ordered 2 of them from Port Lines. They should be here today. One of which is a new smoke tube, and the other is a bushing for the main drive rod on the other side. All of the valve gear is in place on this side. In order to clean the shell, I removed all of the wire detail parts, the 2 handrails, and the steam tubes, including one here, and a third one which wraps around the top of the boiler. The wire handrails were wet sanded with fine sandpaper and then polished with metal polish to try to bring back as much shine as I could. Several of the handrail details were missing or broken off. Here you can see one at the back of the cab. I made this one by hand and replicated the wire on the other side. The new one sticks out just a bit more than it should, but when it's on the tracks, you don't really notice. I went to replace the pancake light bulb, but it wasn't having it. As soon as I applied power, it exploded in spectacular fashion. While I'm sure replacements are available, they probably cost an arm plus a leg. I could see if a regular light bulb fits, but I might also put in a green of wheat bulb, which I can get closer to the lens, and in theory, that should make it brighter anyway. At the back of the cab, I repaired the drawbar nut, which had been mangled with a Pike Master coarse thread screw. I was able to re-tap it for a number 440 machine screw, so now I can put in an original drawbar screw. For now though, I can just use a regular screw with a locking nut. That's pretty much everything on the locomotive. Now I will show you what's left on the tender. I stripped off all of the wire details on the tender and then scrubbed it thoroughly. Removing the layer of dirt also revealed lots of scratches in the paint. This shell is in pretty good shape and I don't think it is necessary to repaint it, but I did go through and touched up everything with flat black oil paint. I think it looks pretty good, although it's not factory perfect. Same touch-up work was done on the engine. I also polished and reinstalled the railing on the top, and will do the same for the remaining details. Now, what's been holding up this project is the mechanicals on the tender. I disassembled the reverser and cleaned and polished the drum. I then determined that the fingerboards were not usable and I replaced them with a brand new pair. The new fingerboards need to be bent down to make contact with the drum. Not too much pressure, just enough to make solid continuity. The top fingerboard was still a bit loose even after twisting the tab locks, so I added a drop of super glue on the treble side. Underneath I had to deal with other issues. I replaced the coupler, the original was shattered. I removed and polished all the wheels and the contact springs. I had to replace one spring under the pickup shoe on the back truck. The old spring broke in half, and so I used a spare brush spring, which is a little too skinny but seems to work okay. I polished the rust spots all over the frame and then coated those spots with WD-40. It's not exactly like the bluing agent that was used to blacken the metal originally, but it should prevent rust. Parts of the frame were bent, including this tab up front and this back corner, which are now straighter. The drawbar was very mangled, and I was able to get it closer to its original form, but it's still not quite right. However, it is close enough to work fine. The last thing to put in the tender is the air chime horn speaker. However, I will not be doing that in this video. That will be done in the final part of the Hudson restoration. Right now, I just want to get this on the layout to pull trains. The engine and tender are fully reassembled and ready to pull trains. Just want to point out a couple more details here. Let me show you a close-up of the handrails that I made to replace the missing ones. Both railings on this side I made by hand with number 47 piano wire. It's relatively easy to bend this wire, but it is very tricky to make it bend in a perfect U shape like the originals. Let's take this to the layout now and operate it. I will start out with some appropriate pull-in passenger cars. Then I will see how many freight cars it can handle with the large motor. My 332 Northern can easily walk away with 18 freight cars and probably a lot more if my layout could handle it. But can the Hudson do it? Neither engine has traction tires. Both engines pull about 3.9 amps under this load. Well, this concludes the second part of the 326 Hudson restoration. I hope you enjoyed this video and learned something too. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss part 3, all about the air chime horn. If you liked this video, leave a thumbs up and a comment. If you have made it this far in the video, thanks for watching and stick around just a bit longer for some bloopers.